Hello, welcome guys. You are very welcome to the Liverpool FC Journal, your independent Liverpool fan channel, guys. We don't charge you for any content, so just smash that sub, ring that notification bell. We're going to talk a little bit of one of my favourite players at the moment, Federico Chiesa, a man who, I don't know about you, but he always gives 110%. He always seems to play with passion, heart and fight, and I think had the players had the same passion, let's start again. Passion, fight and heart that Fede shows on a regular basis yesterday, I think the result could have been somewhat different. Chiesa was brought on with 7 minutes to go yesterday, and I've got to say I didn't genuinely see the point. I think it was a bit of an insult to Fede. The game was over. He was brought on basically to try and save Florian Wirtz's legs. Quite well we're doing that ahead of an international break, God only knows, but there we go. Ekitike was taken off, for example. We went with 2 false nines when we were chasing the game, which to me made zero sense. Fede sat on the bench. If Isak isn't fit enough to play, why is he on the bench? But by the same token, if you've got Federico Chiesa there, why not put him on instead of Cody Gakpo and give him the chance to go run around and cause some chaos up there? You know, we were told at the start of the season, weren't we? That we'll come to that in a minute. We were told at the start of the season that we had enough depth, but we were building a squad to compete across all 4 competitions, across the Champions League, the Premier League, across the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. We were told that there was enough strength and depth there. Then obviously post-Palace, Slot comes out and cry arses about the strength and depth of the squad. We were told that the forward line, despite the fact we'd lost Luis Diaz, we'd lost Darwin Nunez, and obviously we tragically lost Diogo Jota, that we still had enough strength in depth in that forward line. Obviously, you know, Gakpo, TK and Salah currently, I think probably the front 3 you'd say that 9 times out of 10 would start. You've got Rio, Isak and Chiesa, and you've also got Florian Wirtz who can play on that left-hand side, on the right-hand side, or even in the 10 role. So it has a number of uses there. We were told as well that, you know, one of the reasons we didn't sign a replacement for Diaz, which I will maintain to this day is a mistake, was that we didn't want to impede the advancement of Rio and Gamoa. Now, look, do I realistically think that Rio and Gamoa should be your second backup to Cody Gakpo and your second option, you know, on that left-hand side, you know, at his tender years? No, I don't. I think he should be getting a few minutes here, a few minutes there, and being blooded in the first team, certainly, and playing in the Carabao Cup, yes. But I don't think he should be your sole backup option. You know, I think there should have been someone else signed, you know, a Fofana, a Rodrigo, Anthony Gordon, someone of that ilk to come in and be the replacement for Diaz or the backup to Gakpo, whichever way you wanted to look at it. We were also told that we had Federico Chiesa. He was staying. He could fill any of those front 3 positions. He can play as a striker. He can play left side. He can play right side. We were told all of these things are possible for Fede. But, you know, at this moment in time, it really does appear that the manager has only got 4 options up top. Gakpo, Ekitike, Salah and Isak, and I suppose to some extent Wirtz, makes it 5. But realistically, Isak hasn't been much of an option recently due to his lack of fitness and obviously his injuries recently. So we've had 3 options realistically, with Wirtz chipping in on the left-hand side. You know, Chiesa and Rio seem to be absolutely ignored, and I don't know why. You know, that game against Manchester United when we were trailing, why not bring Rio and Gamoa on that to run at a tired defence, to cause problems? You know, in a number of these games where we've been behind the Brent, you know, why have we not brought Rio on to cause trouble? That's the first thing. But, you know, the sort of theme of this video very much is around, you know, Chiesa. You know, Federico Chiesa, whenever Fede has played, has never let the team down. Not once could you ever say that you've watched Federico Chiesa come on or start on the rare occasion that he's allowed to, and he's ever let this team down, because he hasn't. You know, the Palace game where we were appalling in the Carabao Cup, at least he had a bit of an effort, a try. Southampton game, he was excellent. He was the man of the match. The Palace game when we were losing at Palace in the league, when we were absolutely shocking and lucky not to be 6-7-1 down, he was brilliant when he came on, scored a goal. You know, really did take the fight to Palace, was the one player who was. And whenever he comes on, he runs around, he gets stuck in, he shows skill, he shows talent, he shows heart, he shows fight, he shows battle. Yet Arna doesn't seem to like or trust Federico Chiesa, and it doesn't appear to make much sense to me. Now, if you look at Fede's numbers this season, and please bear in mind that a number of, obviously, most of these appearances have been from the bench. So in the Premier League, he's made 8 appearances, scoring 2 goals and an assist. So 3 goal contributions in 8, mostly from the bench, all from the bench. Outstanding. That's pretty good. In the FL Cup, 2 appearances, no goals but 2 assists. And in the Champions League, where he was late added to the squad. Remember, he was initially left out of the squad. It wasn't until Giovanni Leone got injured that he was put back into the squad that he has 2 appearances in this Champions League campaign so far. So far this season, 12 appearances, 2 goals, 3 assists. So 5 goal contributions in 12. That's not bad from a guy who comes mostly off the bench. But, that's stats. And as I said, eye test, he passes the eye test. What I want to know, and I would love someone to actually push Slot on this and put pressure on Slot to answer this question, and a media availability. What is wrong with Freddie? Why is it that he doesn't like him or trust him? What is it about Federico Chiesa that he does not want to put into the team? Now, look, I could see completely the argument for not putting Feddy on from the start, or starting Feddy if we were playing fantastic, scintillating, attacking football, scoring a large number of goals, that the players in the wide positions, in particular Cody Gakpo, Florian Wirtz, Mo Salah, were playing outstanding, out of their skin this season. Well, look, Cody has been average at best this season, and I'm a big fan of Cody's. Mo Salah has been mostly dreadful this season, and genuinely looked him in the last game against Manchester City was genuinely lazy, selfish, and just useless. Why is it that Chiesa doesn't get that opportunity when he will put in 1,000,000% effort, when he will score goals, he will assist, he will work hard, he plays to a good high standard? Now, to me, when I was growing up, and look, I never played at a high level. I never coached at a high level. I've played and coached at a low level, at a sort of local level. But look, one thing I was always taught was that if you played well when you got your chance and you performed well when you got your chance, you'd keep the shirt. You'd have the opportunity to play. If you played badly, you'd get yanked off, or you wouldn't be able to play. You'd get left out. Yeah, to me, this season, it doesn't seem there's any accountability for poor performance or any reward for good performance. Federico Chiesa this season, whenever he's been asked and called upon, has played very well indeed. Has got goals, has got assists, has looked a player. Yet Salah and Gakpo have massively underperformed this season, yet seem to be the first choice, or even the first call from the bench, in the case of Cody, over Chiesa every single time. To the extent where you take off a forward, put on a winger. I know Cody has played through the middle in the past, but he's not really an out-and-out forward. Neither is Feddy, I suppose, to some degree, but Feddy has got more experience there in recent seasons. And not play him. I genuinely don't understand why Slot has such a downer on him. Now, if it is that Slot genuinely doesn't like him and doesn't want to play him and doesn't want to use him, then I'd say sell him in January. Get some money in for him. Use the money to go and buy someone who you will play, who you will trust. Because I think the treatment of Chiesa by Slot is nothing short of appalling. I think it's disgusting, the way he's being treated. And Feddy has been, for me, a model professional. You don't see him moaning on social media. You don't see him throwing a strop. You don't see him sitting on the bench scowling. You don't see him punching the bench. You're throwing water bottles, having a kickoff hit now and then. You don't hear any stories. And look, I know you might say, well, it might be going on in training, but you'd hear about it. Trust me, you'd hear about it. So, Feddy's been the model professional. So, and I can't imagine he doesn't train with the same intensity either. So what is it about him that Slot doesn't like? I don't get it. I think he should be given more of an opportunity. I'd start him over Salah at the moment. I think Salah's been shocking. I'd start him over Gakpo at the moment. I think he definitely deserves an opportunity. So to me, the treatment of him is just, quite frankly, awful. And I believe Liverpool need their full squad going forward. You need to be using the full squad going forward. When we go into obviously the FA Cup in January, obviously probably hopefully still in the Champions League, obviously in a battle to get top 4 now. Look, we're not going to win the league. There's no chance on God's earth Liverpool win the league this season. It'll be Arsenal and Man City, probably Arsenal that win the league unless they do a choke job on it. We need to be using that full squad. And that means playing the likes of Chiesa and Rio if we don't go out and sign someone to replace them in January. So look, to me, what Slot does in terms of those forward line options makes no sense whatsoever. His in-game management to me doesn't make a lot of sense anyway, but I genuinely feel that Chiesa's getting a very, very tough run of things and a very unfair treatment. Guys, I'd love to know your thoughts on Federico Chiesa. Thank you for watching the Liverpool FC Journal. If you've enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one.